There are people waiting for you to show up. They're waiting for you to share your expertise or your perspective or your opinion or whatever it is you're working on. And you're actually doing those people a disservice by holding yourself back. So think about all the people you can serve by being you, showing up, and sharing your stuff. Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women. Let's be clear, showing up online can be so difficult. I'm challenged by it, as I know almost everybody is, because it can be exhausting. Even for me, recording these solo episodes has been challenging because I'm still trying to figure out the time in the week where I can actually show up and record these shows. I feel like every single time I'm recording a solo episode, it's on the weekend. Currently, it's 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, which is fine. I've scheduled it for these days because there's no client work for me to do, and I can actually sit down and think through the content that I want to talk about. But anyways, when it comes to social media, especially, this can get so difficult because we always force ourselves to think of these new, exciting content, or we look to our competitors and they're doing some beautiful, amazing things, and it kind of just deflates you because you're like, oh man, that's so smart. I wish I would have done that, or I wish I could do that. But here's the thing is you can, and there's a system to it. It requires obviously creative thinking and brainstorming, but it's also like separating yourself from your typical work environment, maybe going for a walk or going to a coffee shop and really sitting down and answering some of the things that I am going to tell you in this episode. I know there are days when showing upline is the most brutal grind. I can't tell you how many times I've created a reel. It was so good, and sometimes it would just delete itself. Has that ever happened to you, where it just kind of goes away and you can't find it? What a piss off. Outside of that, though, there are days when you're like, I know I need to create content, but I'm just exhausted. I have no creative juices left. What do I do? So we often get stressed to figure this out. If we get stressed to figure out what to say, how to say it, when to say it, the fear of judgment shows up, and it's sprinkled with worries about what people are going to think and what they're going to say. Sometimes you don't have to show up at all. But as a business owner, and especially as a creative, or when you are the face of the brand, which is a growing need for many more industries, by the way, you are expected to have a presence. I see it more often now that podcast hosts, for example, want guests that have a decent following because it's by nature of the industry that guests will help them grow their show by sharing it on social. And if they don't have that following, then they need an exceptionally juicy story. The hosts need to know if you're going to provide value for their listeners. And your videos and your social media presence is a great way to showcase that talent. So this could be through stories, or it could be through posts and reels, you name it. But people are going online. So think about it. Think of your social presence as your resume to apply to being on some of those shows, or your resume to pitching the media, or your resume to reaching out to influencers. The more you can showcase your specific talent, your unique personality, the better it is for you. So what do you do if your social presence is kind of just a jumbled mess and not put together in any way? What do you do if you need to grow that following? And how do you build that confidence to show up consistently? So there's a couple of things here I'm going to state. And if you're driving, then mark this for later. But it's a really great exercise to help you kind of craft out the content that you can be talking about. Remember, customers need to hear things like 17 times now before they make a purchasing decision. And with that, it means that you can say the same thing over and over again on social, and it would take a lot for people to get annoyed because really only 20% of your following sees your content as it's posted. So the stories that expire after 24 hours, 20% of those people, your followers, even less now, actually see that content. So I encourage you to post over and over again. You can take the same argument and say it in 12 different ways, and that's 12 different pieces of content for social media. So here are some thoughts to actually get you going so you can show up with confidence consistently. The first and perhaps the most challenging step is to develop the right mindset. The give no F's mentality. Here's the reality. Other people's opinion of you is none of your business, right? So this translates to their perspective or their opinion is from their lived experience, and it's hardly something you can quickly understand from a negative comment. Just as insulted you get when someone leaves a negative comment because sometimes they don't know the whole context of a situation, or you feel like they're just taking your entire life's work and just throwing it out the window. I feel that too. I get hate content and comments a lot. I don't say all the time, but it kind of bruises the ego. But when I allowed myself to realize I could just delete this, I could block that person, or I can let them person know that, hey, they're too negative all the time. There's one guy who's in my community, even with my husband, who some days feels like your number one cheerleader, but is also going to be the first person that is extremely vocal about how insulted they might feel about something that you've said. And it gets annoying. It gets annoying because it's very deflating, and I feel like I have to defend myself to the point now I literally do not reply to the content. So I've built that muscle, I've built the mindset to just ignore the content. And yes, you can delete them. Yes, you can block them, or you can just let them sit there and fester. The reality is and I'm going to talk about this in a second, is if you're clear about who you are, if you're transparent, especially when it comes to Generation Z, the more people will trust you. And in a good moment, your following will actually show up to your defense. And I've seen it many times before. It's even with my husband's book. He's been promoting it, and there's some people that say some not nice things. And then I've seen his friends or family or people in his community show up and actually defend him. And so if you're building that community and your following and your audience based on clear messaging, transparency, just being yourself, admitting your mistakes in a very professional way, then your community will come up to your defense. And so why I'm saying this is because I know a lot of people just won't put themselves out there. Even me recording this episode, sometimes I'm just oh my gosh, what are people going to say or think? And the reality with podcasting is generally the people who are already my admirers, hat tip to you, already love what I have to share. And if they don't, they're not tuning in and they're not subscribing. And you know what? That is okay. Now, this took me years. It took a lot of painful nights and cries and sweat to get to this point. But now it's I'm here, I'm confident, and I care less about what people say. I'm not going to say I don't care at all, but I care less. So if you can build that mindset, realizing, I can do this. And here's the truth too, is there are people waiting for you to show up. They're waiting for you to share your expertise or your perspective or your opinion or whatever it is you're working on. And you're actually doing those people a disservice by holding yourself back. So think about all the people you can serve by being you, showing up, and sharing your stuff. So the next thing is to list the top 10 questions that people ask you the most about your service or your industry. You'll start to see a pattern in which that can be extracted for content or social media. You could even jump on and be hey guys, I'm answering a question about XYZ. How to write an awesome social media bio. That was the last solo episode. I talked about that, right? And so I can go on now and I can create a reel, or I can talk about this on stories or in a post about how to create a social media profile. So think about those top 10 questions, write them out. What are they? Yes, the obvious ones are how much do you cost? How does this work? When can we start? Those are still things. People want to know about your services if they're asking you. So it means that there's probably other people that are interested. And with PR, one of the questions they ask is, can you guarantee results? If you don't, what is your guarantee? So then I talk about that. What is my guarantee? Well, for my Authority Booster Intensive program, my guarantee is that if you do everything I say as outlined in the PR manual that we create for you. If after 90 days you don't see a certain amount of wins, then you'll get a certain amount of your money back. So the guarantee is like, if you do what I say you do, I'll promise you a certain amount of results. That's enough for people to feel confident in trusting the process, because I'm basically saying, I'm going to give you some money back if you don't get the wins. And so that also means that I don't work with just everybody or anybody. So when I'm creating these, the PR VIP days, when I'm creating these for my clients, it's the clients also have to apply, because there are some industries I don't know if I can guarantee those results. So I just simply won't work with them. So write the top 10 questions that people ask about your service or your industry. That is a great starting point for creating content. Hey ladies, I gotta share this with you. I got a text message the other day from one of my clients, Callan, and it reads this: Renee, I gotta share this with you. I got on 3 great podcasts last month, and this month has been my biggest month ever. $100,000 revenue as of today. 8 out of 10 of my clients came from podcast audience. I'm so grateful for you and your incredible VIP day. It has been a game changer for my business, and I thank you so much. Wow. I mean, that's just proof that podcasting works. And that's just one example. Another one of my clients, Allison, she says, Renee, the solution you provide is super valuable, even beyond pitching the media. I've used it to reach out to warm leads, which has increased engagement and is helping me grow my business. So there's something to be said about the people that are investing in the Authority Booster Intensive Day, so my VIP day, which is me creating your world-class PR strategy, which comes with so much custom content, a custom pitch list, which is I'm writing and my team is writing your pitches, the pitches that you would reach out to the podcast, to bloggers, to media, to TV, to radio, as well as a custom media list. So this is sourced from our database, our master list of media, and we pluck the right contacts based on your business goals so that we can help you create a PR strategy that your team can integrate and just plug into the marketing tactics that you're already doing. So if you're interested in signing up for the VIP day, I do a couple a month. You can go to wewildwomen.com/VIP day. That's wewildwomen.com/VIP day. So the next one is to jot down some categories. These are content, quote, themes that help you create focused content. And I know there's some people out there, I'm just looking at the content the other day about how you shouldn't create content themes and all the reasons why this is terrible, which personally I think that's bad advice. Because if you are not a creative person, if you're not a writer, or if you're not niched down, you need to create these content buckets. And there's a few of them here to kind of get you going. So the first one is creating icebreaker content. So this is for people to get to know you. If you're a comedian, if that's any part of your personality, then share some jokes. Just be you. Go online, do that. Maybe there's some promotional content, right? So this is okay for you to sell, especially if you're leveraging social for your business. It's okay for you to sell. Promote yourself, promote your services. I do that too by talking about my programs on my podcast, and I have no shame because they are great. Then you want to share some motivational content. This is to get people to take action, right? So maybe it's quotes, maybe it's something inspiring or a story. Share that motivational content because you want people to be motivated. Then you need to share some comment boosting content. So this is asking questions, getting perspectives, running polls or surveys. This is to get people to create comments. This could also be maybe something that could be a little bit risky, but the whole point is you want people to share their opinions or to share their perspective or to comment, really. Next is to your expertise content. So this is obviously the show-off stuff, right? This is let us know a little bit or a lot bit about how you're the expert in this space. If you're a chiropractor, yes, there's a ton of them, but how are you the chiropractor for, say, children or for sports or athletes, right? So show off your expertise and do this a lot because this is where you're building your credibility. People want to see that you're credible. And finally, one of the last types of content buckets, content themes, is sprinkling some educational stuff. Teach, 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 right? The more you teach, the better people will believe that you're credible. The more that you teach, people will believe that you're the authority in this space, and you'll want to buy from them. So the more you do it, as in putting content out there, whether it's great or not, the better you will get at it. And the better you'll get at it because you'll start to see the type of content that people want. The better you get at it, the more momentum you will create. The more momentum you make, the more it will inevitably become an extension of your daily activities without compromise. So that is how you can show up and start creating relevant content. And I even say, 2 posts is better than 1, and 1 post is better than none. Come up with a cadence that can work in your schedule for creating content, whether it's on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, where you know your audience is. And that's the thing too, is remember, don't go to TikTok if you're in an industry where the decision makers aren't on TikTok. Maybe do it for a personal perspective, but for the most part, go to the platform to which your audience is that are actively buying. And so you got to find those. For me, it's Instagram. Instagram works the best for me. TikTok's okay. And so I show up on Instagram as much as I can. And what I do is I have 2 accounts. One is for We Wild Women. The other one is my personal account. And on my personal account, typically in the stories is where I share most of my personal stuff, kind of where we are, what we're doing, family stuff, trips, and whatnot. I sprinkle some of that in on my posts that stay there as static because I want people that have never met me before to see, oh, she's a mom, she's, a wife, she lives here, she does this. So they get to know me, but I'm also trying to leverage my expertise the most because I want people to identify me as a credible source in the PR space. And so that's it in a nutshell. The absolute biggest thing for you to work on is your mindset, because you have to create the confidence to keep showing up. You don't have to have it all figured out. But if you can commit to maybe 2 things a week, maybe a killer LinkedIn article, maybe a couple reels, whatever it is, commit to something. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just get it out there. Press publish. Until next time, ladies, peace out. So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time, the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.